The Green Party's packed a sad over the government's investment in roads for Christchurch. The party says the money would be better spent on public transport. Here's Jared McCulloch.
More funding needs to go into Christchurch's public transport. That's the message from the Green Party following the government's commitment to new roading and transport systems. Over $1.5 billion from the Land Transport Fund will be spent in the city over the next 3 years, developing more motorways and some funding for public transport to help with the continued traffic congestion. However, Green List MP Eugenie Sage says the new money for public transport is not enough.
We're seeing $859 million being spent on the Christchurch motorway program and new roads there, and yet only $137 million being spent on public transport.
She says more money needs to be committed to bus and rail networks, which will help with the traffic woes around the city. The fund will also be made up from the ratepayers to complete the roading projects, but the main focus should be on reducing more carbon emissions into the air, saying this will not help.
Well, Canterbury's getting about 18% of the government's transport spending, but once again the spending is targeted primarily to pollution-causing motorways. There should be a much greater spend on public transport. Particularly in Christchurch, the roads are really congested and the government has dropped the ball in terms of assisting with public transport.
Just recently, the Christchurch City Council axed plans to a joint congestion relief project to try and ease parts of Cranford Street to make it 4 lanes. Also axed was a $50 million project to extend Christchurch's northern motorway. That's where Sage says trains could help with the northern traffic.
There needs to be some more feasibility work done there, but it's certainly something that's been suggested for the northern arterial route, and we need to get more people on buses in the shorter term and have many more busways so that people can get around the city quickly.
However, they've been committed to cycle networks, and so has the government.
It's great, but the whole priority of the National Land Transport Program needs to change so that we're not increasing pollution, we're actually getting people on bikes, walking and on public transport.
The Green Party says the amount of commitment to buses and other ways of travelling in, out and around the city is pathetic compared to the country's 2 other major centres, Auckland and Wellington. However, she says there needs to be a focus on other ways of getting around.
Throwing billions at state highways and new motorways with very poor business cases. They only carry a small proportion of freight and traffic, and yet Kiwi Rail has got to go to Treasury and beg for a few $100 million every year to keep our rail network operating.
And although they want more buses to be on the local roads, the party has previously wanted to extend the use of public transport further by offering tertiary students free off-peak travel and to create a transport body to be known as Canterbury Transport. Works will begin and extend until 2018 with the new roading projects, but for now public transport will have to stay in the slow lane. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.